Why is the housing market doing so well right now? After all, we're at 20-year interest rate highs. It's in the 7s now, and many predicted that as rates doubled, that the housing market would tumble. But it hasn't. In fact, we're at 4.5% increase over the past 12 months, and I know that differs between area, but it's still rock solid. Then there's all these other macroeconomic indicators, things like inverted yield curves, and we have more consumer debt than ever. But yet, housing remains rock solid. Why? Well, you're going to learn all about that here in this video. I'm going to share with you something very simple, yet incredibly powerful. And by understanding that, one big thing, you can really understand so much about residential real estate in investing and decisions that you're going to make. Recall from a video I put together in December of 2022 talking about real estate investing here in 2023, that one key characteristic was going to be that it was going to be a steady market. And that's what it's been. Here I'm shooting this one here in this video in September of 2023. I was exactly right. How did I know it was going to be so steady? Did I have a crystal ball? Well, I've shared in many videos how difficult it is to predict the future, and there's so many things that I don't know, and I'm terrible at forecasting, things like interest rates and all kinds of other factors. But I knew one big thing, and that one big thing I'm going to share with you on this video. To best understand this incredibly powerful point, we have to start with a lesson from one of my favorite business books, Good to Great by Jim Collins. He introduces in chapter 5 the Hedgehog Concept. It comes from an essay by Isaiah Berlin on the hedgehog and the fox. And in that essay, it's describing how the fox has many creative and crafty ideas and ways in which to attack the hedgehog. But the hedgehog has one big defense, and that is to roll up into a ball of spikes. And every time the fox is about to attack, he rolls up into a ball and he calls off the attack. His one defense is more powerful than all the creative ideas of the fox. And that's exactly what's happening in the housing market. What is the hedgehog of the housing market? I know you've been waiting. Inventory, or the lack of inventory. It's the amount of available properties for sale in the marketplace that a buyer could buy if they were looking to buy. Inventory levels are so low nationally, and that's why real estate prices have gone up when interest rates have doubled. It's the lack of inventory. So look at this not just from a national level, but from your local perspective. Every time you do a deal, you need to be studying inventory. What other competitors do you have for that property? If you have almost no competitors, then you know you have low inventory, which will trump basically every other factor. Every other factor, high interest rates, or whatever macroeconomic problem could be thrown at your situation, low inventory is the hedgehog. But if inventory levels are high, let's say it's some higher priced home, and there's a bunch of properties that have been seen on the market for a long time, and you're considering whether or not to buy that property, renovate it, and resell it, well, you better be careful, because inventory is the biggest of the biggest factors to evaluate. Now, some have asked, okay, well, Phil, all right, if inventory is the hedgehog, and right now we have low inventories, well, all that has to happen is the inventory levels have just got to rise, and now all of a sudden the housing market won't be so rock solid. And you would be right. If, that's a big if, inventory levels climb. How is inventory going to climb? We'll start with builders. Are we going to get a bunch of new homes built? No. Why? Well, builders have so many headwinds. They've had headwinds for years. I've been shooting videos literally for years talking about this. That between the cost of labor and the cost of materials and the cost of land and the difficulty of NIMBY, not in my neighborhood, not in my backyard, where communities don't want builders putting up subdivisions. They want to continue to live in rural America. It is so hard to build a home right now. We're not going to get a bunch of new homes from builders. They're going to keep building as much as they can, but they're throttled down from so many directions that we're not going to get them from there. So you say, okay, it won't come from builders, it's just going to come from homeowners. Homeowners are just going to want to sell all of a sudden. No. Homeowners aren't selling because interest rates have doubled. They have 3-4% interest rate loans. Why would they sell and go get a 7.5% interest rate loan? Right? So homeowners aren't selling. That's why we have low inventory. So it's not going to come from there. And you say, okay, well, Phil, I'll tell you where it's going to come from. It's going to come from the fact that there's so many people struggling financially right now, and you might make it a political conversation, but whether or not you do, the statistics are very clear right now, and it is somewhat terrifying. Over $1 trillion in consumer credit card debt, and that's the first time in history. There's something like 45 or 50% of people can't even get their hands on $500 right now. It's very terrifying, and you know the statistics probably better than me on that front. So you're going to say, well, Phil, here's what's going to increase inventory: foreclosures. Remember that people have been predicting a foreclosure tsunami ever since COVID. Right now, we're at some of our lowest foreclosure rates in recorded history. And I'm excluding in COVID when it was literally a moratorium. I'm talking about actual times when an attorney could actually file a foreclosure proceeding. So foreclosures, even if they increased, let's just say they do, they're going to get gobbled up by investors. Not just investors like you and me, but think of all the institutional investors right now that are buying homes as rentals. And in fact, they've slowed down their purchases primarily because of the lack of inventory. You give those massive Wall Street funds more foreclosures, they're going to gobble them right up. So is inventory going to rise on a national level at some rapid pace to disrupt the fundamentals of this rock-solid housing market? I don't see how. Now, y'all could somehow share with that in the comments and prove to me where somehow magically this hedgehog is going to lose its spikes and the fox is going to attack. But pretty much any of your arguments, I'm going to roll up in a ball like a hedgehog and I'm going to say, nope, probably not going to happen. But if you have an argument to prove increased inventory, great. But I hope what this shares with you is something even more important than some macro national level discussion. It's really about you as an investor and making sure that if you evaluate inventory, that's your hedgehog. If you do this right, you're going to make better decisions as an investor. And this is why we've made so much money this year. Lack of inventory. Many of you are wondering, Phil, where have your videos been all year? I've been mentoring my apprentices. We're making a lot of money. These videos is something I do as I get extra time. I literally haven't had much extra time this year. So I'm finally carving out a little bit again. But look, there is so much money being made in residential real estate because of a lack of inventory, because of this hedgehog. It is rock solid. And from my perspective, and I know I don't have a crystal ball, I don't see how inventory is going to rise. I don't think any of these three components is going to somehow magically push that up. And even if there's more of these, there's plenty of buyers right now begging for foreclosures to purchase. All right, y'all. Well, I'm Phil Pustiovsky with FreedomMentor.com. I know it's been a while since I've been with you. Hopefully you'll get a chance to see a lot more of my videos here soon. And if some of this kind of runs way over your head and you want to kind of go back to the basics, I wrote a book, How to Be a Real Estate Investor, that is mandatory reading for anyone who wants to be successful in real estate investing. I give it away for free in these videos. And if you want to be a world-class, market-leading, money-making machine of a real estate investor, consider my Apprentice Program, where my team and I, we mentor, we guide, we train, we turn people into the best of the best, making a ton of money. I have produced so many of America's most successful real estate investors, and I can do it for you too. All right, thanks so much, y'all, for watching this video. Love to hear your comments, and I'll see you on the next one.